How was the whole pet situation when you traveled to do the pet thing? That story behind they won't allow you to take your dog on the plane because he's too long. But when it was
Yeah,
all said and done, that dog still flew on the plane the same way that you could have done. Tell us about
exactly.
that.
He flew. So I tried to get my dog again. I told you he's a older dog. He's 13 years old. He's pretty small. He's about 12 inches off the ground, but he's approximately 20 to 21 inches long. So he didn't meet the requirements for in-cabin flying because the requirements are 18 inches long and about 11 inches high. So I went through an airline and they said no, and we won't give you the waiver, even though their airline explicitly stated online that they would if your dog's over 13 over 11 years old. If you sign saying that they would not be liable, this airline would not do it. So I found somebody else, and they were able to do it for significantly more money, twice as much as what I was going to pay initially. I was going to pay around 3,000, I think, to get it from California to here. This cost close to 8,000, but they flew on the same airline that had said they would not fly my dog. But I got him here. I got him, and they flew him in cabin. He didn't go in cargo. They flew him in cabin. He's here, so I was happy. I was really ecstatic about that because it took a long time. I searched a lot of different agencies in California and the United States, and I could not find anybody. I searched on different airlines, United, Delta, American Airlines, the big airlines, and they would not fly him in cabin. But I got him here, and they actually flew him in cabin here.
And that's the thing too, because you had access to resources, but as I tell many people, when those resources fail to come through, you have to pivot and you have to be fluent about it. And some people think, well, no, it should go smoothly. They was vetted and they was in this, but it don't turn out that way. That's what happened when you called one of those people that did the pet relocation. Couldn't help you, huh?
Yeah, I called multiple ones that worked kind of locally in Miami, because again, I was in California, but locally from Miami to Panama. And then I called ones that were in California. And that was the challenge also because I was coming across the country. There's quite a few more resources in the state of Florida because of the proximity to Panama. But I had to call places that were in California because I had to get them from California there. I was even considering getting a U-Haul and driving him. And so but I eventually found somebody, and then they tried to deal with the airline, and they said no, we can't do it. We can't give you the waiver for his age, and then ultimately he ended up flying on that same airline and getting here. So, but yeah, it's a challenge. It definitely was a challenge, and I didn't have a big dog, and I couldn't understand the challenge, the difficulty in getting him. It's like he's only a 21-inch dog. He's not like a 90-pound dog or 80-pound dog, 60-pound dog. He's a little small dog. He's a 13-year-old dog, weighs like 14 pounds, but they had breed restrictions. My dog has a mixture of them. So then I had to look at his rabies certificate and get that adjusted.
They have breed restrictions. What do you have? Cujo?
Yeah. They don't. Any dog that they have, apparently, I learned this from the research. Any dog that, because my dog initially kind of looks like he's a little pug, and he has no pug in him, because pugs have the smashed nostril and they have breathing difficulties. My dog, Winston, is more of a Chihuahua and Dachshund. He's a long dog, Dachshund, long dog, and then Chihuahua face. But because he looked like a pug, because of the breathing restrictions, airlines will not take those dogs because they say they have difficulty in the air. Once they reach altitude, they don't do well. So they will not accept the liability.
So he couldn't have the mask drop down, so he could just take the mask and take the direction.
Yeah. You put your mask on first, and then put the mask on. Nope, they said nope.
Yeah, wow.
So I had to get that worked out with the vet, and they said no, he's Dachshund and Chihuahua. So that got worked out, but then ultimately the agency, the airline said no, his age is can't accept the liability.
That's one of the big things when a lot of people move and come from the West Coast is that whole distance, because almost everything is centered around coming out of Florida or maybe Dallas, Fort Worth or Houston or something. Even with your moving your pallets or home goods or something like that. So coming away from the West Coast is a bit challenging. So everybody, you got to look for things, people that to transport all your stuff to one of those states, either Texas or Florida, and then you be good to go. So